You're listening to Data Center Therapy. Please take a number, and an engineer will be right with you.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Data Center Therapy. I am your host, Matt Yeti, and I'm joined by my co-host, Mr.
What's my name? Cozzolino.
Matt Cozzolino. Matt, how are you? You missed it.
I missed it? Ah, that was mine. I'm great. How are you?
I'm good. Well, I was going to say that I'm going to blame the slack on you just coming back from another trip 2 weeks in a row now.
2 weeks in a row. Austin last week, Denver this week, and I didn't expect 5,000 feet to make a difference with all of the skiing I do, but wow, it's up there.
Yeah, Denver, and you were in Austin we were both in Austin the week before.
Mm-hmm.
Last week was Pure Accelerate, as far as we're recording, the week prior. And then this week, Matt was down in Denver at the Rubrik Tech Summit.
Yeah, so it was all internal SEs and a handful of us partner SEs.
Oh, very cool.
Mm-hmm.
I would have loved to go to that, but I was unable to travel that week. But hopefully next year. That sounds like, as I've talked about, some of the conferences have become more marketing. No offense to our marketing team. than Tech Deep Dive focused. That seems like one that was fairly nerdy. Was that how it lined up?
It was kind of interesting to see. One of the things I guess I knew, but I didn't quite realize is Rubrik's only like 5 years old. So there's still some of those growing new, figuring out what we're doing, how we're doing it.
Yeah.
Lots of reference to their internal KB articles, and I'm talking to our channel SE, and I'm going, hey, so I love all the KB articles and stuff you guys are writing, but I need access to them also. So, they're still getting some of that figured out, still getting some of the marketing and structure and how do we do this? How do we, share this kind of information internally and externally with our partners? But it was good. It was lots of good content.
It is the exciting age range where it's really cool to be integrated with one of these companies. Not to say that once you've matured and become a larger company that things are all boring, but I mean, look at our Redux events, right? Those exist because, one, not everybody can make VMworld, whether that's time commitment or cost or otherwise. But there's just so much to digest that there seems to be a need for a supplemental bit of information out there.
Someone to go do all of it and then distill it down to the handful of things. Yeah.
Tell me what I need to know. Exactly. Yeah. So that's cool. Speaking of Redux, anyway, speaking of a few of these things, but speaking of Redux, it just kicked off this week. We still have 6 locations left across the greater Seattle and Portland area. So if you want an invite to those, reach out to us. New email address, redux@ivoxy.com. It's REDUX, redux@ivoxy.com. And then we're going to talk more about this deeper into the show. Well, pretty soon, actually. But speaking of Rubrik, but then before that, we were at Pure Accelerate. Matt and I went, joined by a couple of our account managers as well, to Pure's yearly... I compare everything to VMworld, right? Pure's version of VMworld, their ecosystem, their products.
Yeah.
Pure Accelerate, which was in Austin, Texas. Here is the cool thing: we won Pure's West Partner of the Year.
Woohoo! Yay us!
For our business with Pure over the last 2 years. So they gave out 3 regional awards. They gave out, was it Northeast, Southeast, and then West, Matt?
Yeah, I think it was just those 3 geos that I heard.
Yeah. So we won West Partner of the Year. So, kudos to, you, Matt, us, to our account managers.
Yeah, us, pat ourselves on the back. There we go.
Yeah. Not to turn this into this vendor or that vendor, but obviously we've got a lot of great vibes, great feelings with Pure. They're, local SEs, specific to Matt and myself, their local SEs are just rock stars to work with, really cool guys. And just a great team to work with. So we appreciate Pure having us down to the conference. It was good to learn more. And let's dig into what that more is, because...
scooters.
They did... Yeah, right? As you're reading our notes here, it's not really related. Pure did not announce a...
Pure was awesome. They had scooters.
Flash scooter.
Yeah.
Flash scooter.
So what's the story with the scooters? We were down in Austin, and this was, I think, both of our first times getting to use the Uber, the Lime, the Lyft scooters that they've got just scattered around all over, right? That was your first time on those? Yeah.
I had never been on them, and I live up here in Bothell, a little north of Seattle, and I just this is one of the outside of Seattle area cities that they're dropping them and testing them out. The electric scooters. Have never ridden one. I've seen them laying around sporadically, but never gave it a second thought.
Yeah. So me either. I'd seen them like walking through. I think Portland was the last one I'd seen, and I was talking about, holy cow, one of these days I'm gonna see someone flying through an intersection and get hit or something. But with the way it was laid out in Austin and where the tech center was and where the event was and where the hotels were and where all of the things we were going to were, it's just a handful of blocks, and being able to hop on one of those for $1 something and scoot over 3 blocks to the thing, I thought that was super freaking neat.
Well, yes, but let me add this context. Somebody could be rolling their eyes right now saying, you slobs can't walk 3 blocks. And normally I would agree with you. We're talking 96-degree weather, and that's not even that
200%
uncomfortable.
humidity.
But humidity, and then in the sun itself. Like, if you can have a built-in, fan blowing on you, that air that you get when you're driving with a scooter, that cools you down so much. So,
Yeah.
but I share your concern. I looked at these things. I looked at traffic. There's construction all over the place. You're talking about brick/cobblestone road areas. There are no shocks on these things.
It was kind of like, you go ride the motorcycle and you're out there and everything can happen and there's a little bit of a thrill. That's exactly what it was.
Well, yeah,
Wow.
because I'm surprised there weren't bodies strewn about the streets. It really, I had my head on a swivel on those things, and then you get up on the sidewalk from time to time, and I'm imagining these people here who live here must be fed up to the teeth.
Exactly. I'm sure if it was in my house, I would hate it. Right?
And
In my backyard, I would hate it. But
I didn't get one dirty look from an Austinite, and I would assume I had passed at least a few of them, right?
yeah, I'm sure that. I think let's say we're doing pretty awesome and like actually looking left and right before we cross the street, that kind of thing. But yeah,
Right.
I could see how zoom. There you go.
Well, we led with the highlight, obviously. No,
Ah,
I mean, that was up there. We just had to mention that because what I say to Matt, when I get home, I'm selling my car. It was really cool and a really economical way to get around. So if you're feeling lazy, if you got a backpack, if it's hot out, you just want some fun, scoot. I'm pro scoot, but just look both ways. Be careful.
check the street.
So Matt and I were actually for 2 days down there in training. Historically, Pure has had their SEs locally do deployments and installs and upgrades and capacity expands and head swaps. But I believe the push is to enable their partner community to take some of that off their plate. And I mean, that's smart. I mean, pretty much all of our storage partners put the deployment stuff out onto us. And so even though Matt and I have both done Pure deployments, it's still it's a certification thing. They want to make sure everybody has the same set of information. So Matt and I were down there most of the time spent in a classroom in training. And, what is your thought on the training, Matt? I rather liked it given what could, potentially be quite dry,
Yeah, I agree. I think with a lot of these trainings, we as engineers have to do some like learning on our own, figure out how it works, read the install articles, and by the time we've gotten through all of that, it's like, I know how to do this. This isn't a problem. So we end up in a class, and it's kind of back to basics a little bit on some of the stuff. Given that, I think it was actually pretty good. We got some good instructors. The class, for being the better part of a couple of days, took a minute, but it was not too terribly bad to sit through. We covered a lot of stuff. I'd not gone that deep on like a head
Right.
swap and an upgrade, a hardware upgrade, that kind of thing. So it was actually pretty cool to see how that worked and kind of peel the covers back and kind of get this is actually how we expect all of these things to happen.
Agreed. It's always anybody can read the documentation. It's getting a level of comfort for should things go off the rails or unexpected stuff happens. How do you deal with that? And developing that comfort if that does happen. I mean, let's be honest. When that does happen,
Right.
that was to me was the valuable takeaway from it, and so it was good. And now Matt and I are certified smart as far as Pure
SMRT.
goes. So, but we were, we did have our ears to the ground. We were able to pick up on a little bit of news as well. So, there were a few announcements for Pure. I kind of distilled them down to some of the more major ones, with the last point being, I think, the big one that I want to talk a lot about. But one thing, and obviously picking up on my push for naming everything as a service, because I'm going to lay claim to that. Pure as a service is a thing.
It is. They were talking about that quite a bit too.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's across all of their product lines, so it's not just, well, if you're talking here, and I think that's important, is to baseline it and make it as wide as possible in terms of the scope of their product families, so there's as little confusion as possible. But really, the general gist of it is you buy Pure capacity, 50 terabytes, and you can run it on-prem, you can run it in the cloud, you can do 50/50. It's really not a separate SKU, and your payment is all in OpEx. It's not CapEx.
Yeah,
at that point.
And that's what I saw was they want buy it, and we will just make sure that you have what you need, regardless of where you want to use it, so that they can be sticky, right?
Yep. And I'm not faulting any of these companies for leaning into the OpEx model. I still have my reservations in terms of where is this push coming from, and I suspect it's more of a financial Wall Street stock thing. We want to see predictable revenue. We want to see this, we want to see that. And so, from a technical standpoint, as you and I sit here, Matt, I don't care.
No, not really.
I don't care. And does it make the tech better? No, well, no. But I mean, as long as the customers have a model that fits into what they want to do, and makes the purchasing process easier, and them therefore more satisfied with the purchase. Whatever, more options are better than less. Fewer.
Totally.
Yeah. So I mean, so Pure as a service. The other one is Pure's now leveraging what they call direct memory, leveraging Intel Optane chips. So we're talking about read cache. So if your NVMe array isn't already fast enough, hitting disk, so to speak, they now have read cache modules. The nice thing is this works with your existing arrays.
So we can just do a non-disruptive head swap and get direct memory chips.
Not even necessarily requires a head swap.
No.
So your existing array. So what these things are they actually use the same slots as the direct flash modules.
Okay.
So the trade-off is a loss of capacity, right?
Right.
So you will have to take out an SSD or an NVMe and slide one of these direct memories in. So you do lose capacity, but I do like that when you've got a new hardware development and you can roll that back and still say, oh, our old arrays will use this, can work with this.
That's actually really cool, yeah.
Yes, that's not, and Pure goes very heavy with the no forklift kind of concept, and it's nice to see that they're sticking with that promise at least.
Yeah.
So that's cool. I mean, I don't know how many customers right now that push their Pure arrays to the tilt, right? But I mean, there's always hunger for more. We have E911 centers as customers who, they might not need the full-blown IOP capacity of the flash arrays, but the latency. They need no data loss. They need no outages during a failover power loss. So it's, you can shave milliseconds off that could be life or death. So it's cool to see.
I think there's a market. I think there's something for everyone, and
for sure.
They wouldn't be doing that if they didn't see that, right?
Right. Well, speaking of something for everyone, my favorite announcement of Accelerate was, so we're familiar with the Wack M, the M series, the X series, really the current flash array flagship. There is now a new family member. You want to guess, Matt? Like you don't have the notes in front of you?
What notes? I don't have any notes. Let's see. A, B. Was it C or something?
It was C. What does C stand for?
Capacity, right?
Capacity. So, yes, so many customers. A lot of customers still. Can you justify all flash for your entire workload? And there are plenty of customers out there that say, I simply can't. I've got a ton of tier 2 data that I can't justify putting 100, 200, 300 terabytes of cold data that barely gets touched, but I need it on site, I need it online. I can't put that on all flash. I can't justify that. And that's a valid position, right?
Yeah, but we're driving that gap between spinning disk and flash. We're driving it closer and closer together with these things, right?
Inefficiencies, right? The algorithms that you're getting on a deduping compression. I mean, Pure, I believe, what they state is their statistics show the global average is something like 5.1 to 1 ratio. Now, of course, all the caveats that are included with that all depended on workload. But I mean, it's pretty impressive the kind of capacity you can squeeze out of less flash. But yeah, the C line is meant to offer more capacity, denser, and really your loss here is latency. So they're advertising about 2 to 4 milliseconds. And if that sounds foreign for Pure, that makes sense because they live under the 1, right? But yeah, I mean, how many people out there listening right now would complain about an average of 2 to 4 milliseconds of latency on their primary workload right now?
Just a couple of years ago, we were saying, hey, here's this new array, and you're going to get, sub 5 millisecond latency out of that. And that's awesome, right? So,
right. If 4 is on the bad side of things, I don't think there's a lot of people out there complaining, which is cool, right?
Yeah.
Currently, this C line is going to be using TLC flash memory. But in 2020, the first quarter of it actually, so very soon, they're going to be rolling over to the QLC-based flash. So QLC is this kind of black sheep, ugly cousin thing where it's denser than MLC flash, right? It's got great density, but it's got much lower endurance and higher latency. The lower endurance is also dependent on what kind of workload, so it could be better in sequential than random. The problem is, well, the good thing is this. Pure has done the work to make sure that you, the customer, who cares? Who cares if so the OS itself, Purity, will deal with the resilience. It will pre-fail. It will do everything you need to, and with the Evergreen support, it allows you, they'll send replacements, this and that. So it's up to Pure to support that. So who cares? So it leverages those cheaper, deeper QLC flash modules.
That was one of the things I picked up in our training was covering how they do their garbage collection, and just because I can clean up these blocks and rewrite them and make them write them down into a single block instead of spanning 3 doesn't mean I should, right?
Right.
So doing that kind of stuff, I can totally see how they're getting away with using some less resilient, less
enterprisey SSDs. Yeah. I mean, so I've got one beef with this product right now. Well, I'll also say this. It is 100% functional parity with their existing flash array lines. So this is not some X Lite or whatever. Feature set wise, completely the same across the board, which is great. So one
same
OS,
box,
basically.
same front end, yeah.
Right. Here's my beef. The entry model right now, and this will change most definitely, is 1.3 petabyte effective capacity.
Yeah.
Right.
That's not a bunch.
Yeah, there are 3 tiers. So that the 1.3P, as in Pedro, is 366 tera raw. The middle tier is 878 tera raw for an effective capacity of 3.2P, and the top tier box is 1.93P raw for an effective capacity of over 5 petabytes. Clearly they're shooting for the enterprise moon right here with those kind of numbers as it stands. And certainly a large number of our customers fall below that. But they still have large data sets, right? And in the hundreds of terabytes. So that entry level model will touch a few here and there. I would like to see something come in at half that. Give me a 500T effective, and I could hit a ton more of my customers with that.
That'd fit quite a few more places.
Yeah, but I mean, even Pure's own justification for this is basically positioned where people have a ton of tier 2 data, a ton of where a hybrid platform could be in play, and Pure has never had a spinning disk in their product. It's been pure flash from the beginning. So this is a way for them to approach that hybrid market without having to compromise the model and the forward-thinking design of their architecture.
Yeah. Yeah, so, I like it.
I mean, I'm excited. And what I think, I've heard some people chat, well, why didn't they just kind of fold that in as a tier on their X series or whatever? Well, from my point of view, it doesn't seem to be in their DNA, right? Pure wants to give you a consistent performance expectations for workloads.
Right.
So tiering is inherently unpredictable.
Right. It departs from, here's my array, it serves data super fast, and now here's my array, but this data is really fast, and that data's not quite as fast.
Right. And why
right?
is it slow? Did it get pushed over there? Well, maybe half is living here, and so the caveats that come with that. I like that their approach to kind of creating a new family there.
Hmm.
And again, purity being the same across the board. It's same kind of management, and basically you see a different level of capacity and a different level of performance, but that's laid out and clear. So I think it's a win. I'm looking forward to them. I'm looking forward to them moving down a little bit. I am. But overall, I've got a lot of customers that I would love to talk to about this.
Yeah, yeah, I can see
Yeah.
that.
Yep. Okay, so I mean that pretty much wraps up the Accelerate summary there, Matt.
Hmm.
I was absolutely remiss to miss out on the Tech Summit for Rubrik, but can you fill me in about a little bit about some points of note from that?
Points of note. This was my first trip to Denver. I'd never been to Denver before. Um, I think we were talking about that. I was surprised about the 5,000 feet and how much of a difference that made. Weather was super dry. Outside of that, a couple of the super cool things I saw were we had a Amazon 301 class on the Cloud Out and the Cloud On products. So we did kind of a deep dive on that and some of the architecture around that. Um, if you're familiar with how S3 reads data, it's a public interface, right? So if you're going to put something or get something from S3, you effectively go over the internet. So even if you have an Amazon environment, um, even if you have an Amazon environment and you're archiving to S3, you're still hitting the public internet. So the cool thing there for me was seeing some of the different architectures where you can actually turn your traffic and send it over your VPN connection or over your direct connect connection into S3 and how some of the things on the back end work there. Um,
Is that specific to Rubrik, or is that just overall a networking design thing?
it was specific to Rubrik in that this is how Rubrik is leveraging the S3 connection and putting data up there. But they're doing that specifically because of how S3 works. Does that make sense?
Okay.
So
I do.
yeah. So
think I understand.
so seeing some of that traffic pathing was kind of cool. It's it's kind of redundant in that the blocks that we're putting up there, those objects we're putting in S3 are encrypted already. So if I have this encrypted traffic and I'm going to toss it on a VPN, that's slightly redundant. But hey, someone might need to check a box and do a thing. So
Right.
that's how we do that. Um, after taking a look at the cloud out piece, the cloud on, and how do we actually spin up these machines and how do we do the conversion from a VMware instance, a VM instance, to an AMI so that we can actually boot it on EC2. That whole process, the aha moment for me there was again around that S3 piece and the fact that I may have my Bolt instance that's turning on and reading this data and converting it for me. If I don't do anything with that, I still have to go out to the internet and get my data off of S3, which then incurs an egress charge out of S3, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
So solving that by doing things like your S3 proxy, so you have a S3 interface internally that you can go hit inside of your VPC without actually having to go out to the web, keeps you from having egress charges.
So wait, so if I set up a VPC and I set up a VPN endpoint on-prem,
Mm-hmm.
that is a different egress consideration than just doing an S3 direct out. Or I'm sorry, EC2 direct out, or however, through a public IP.
Right. So the VPC itself is the construct of the Amazon network portion, right?
That's right.
If you have a device in your VPC, whatever subnet it's sitting on inside of that VPC, and you go access S3, it's going out to the internet and getting it and coming back.
Right.
Which is public, which is egress charge out of S3.
Sure.
So why do I have to do that? Everything's staying in my Amazon environment. So let's stand up an S3 proxy. I'm totally blanking on the name of it right now, but I stand up an S3 instance, a proxy instance on my inside of my VPC, and now Now I just
I
have to
see
go
what you're
hit
saying.
that, and it proxies into the S3
I
environment
see what
for
you're saying.
me.
It stays within S3. It doesn't go out and come back in.
It stays within the Amazon ecosystem.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
See, and,
So
and
there's
me, I'm asking, especially terminology. I live in the Azure bubble. When it comes to cloud, you're more AWS. So I appreciate that because it is different. You say Direct Connect, and even I'm talking about Azure, and I say Direct Connect, but what I really mean is Express Route.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
I can't tell you how many conversations I've had where I've said blah 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 blah, and they go, "You mean Azure?" Because I say AWS or vice versa.
Right.
They could start with different letters.
Yeah.
Maybe that.
So it was cool.
Spelling
things.
as a service.
It was cool things like that. How do you get to your data? How do you do the conversion? How does the VM spin up? We talked about some Bolt instances and how they actually work. I want to say, like each Bolt instance that's doing the conversion only runs 2 VMs at a time and a total of 5 VMDKs. So if you scale that and you've got a single VM with 30 VMDKs attached to it, it's going to do 5 of those at a time, and that's going to affect your conversion process to be able to spin it up.
Did they talk about 5.1 at all?
A lot, yes. A lot of it was 5.1, 5.0, 5.1, and the new version that's rolling out. And a lot of the Cloud On stuff was driven by that because they're changing the process of how they do the conversion.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like 5.1 is a massive release for them, even bigger than 5.0, because, out there in the field, I think 5.0 ended up being a little bit of a snafu. They changed a ton, and they felt the pain because of it. It's so much changed and introduced a bunch of issues. 5.1 feels to me like this is the dot release you've been waiting for, 5.0 users kind of thing.
Yep. This is the change, the code change from AWS at like ASAs from 8.3 or 8.2 to 8.3. This is the change from 7 mode to CDOT on a NetApp. This is the
Prince we were promised.
This is the your commands on the CLI now have tab complete kind of stuff. That's all of this is getting rolled into.
Yep. So I'm definitely eager for that. To throw that in the lab for sure. Very cool. So you had a good time down there.
I did. It was pretty laid back. We got to go down to the Colorado Rockies Stadium for their, I guess for our just thanks for coming guys.
Oh wow.
Dinner thing there. That was kind of neat to be able to walk around and actually go into the dugout. Like we actually got to go into the dugout.
One, right?
No Wu-Tang Clan on this one. No. Talking to one of the guys, it's kind of funny. The SE team, I guess, put this together versus marketing does the thing at VMworld for Wu-Tang Clan.
We are. Sorry, Dustin. We are really pounding on marketing here. That's not on purpose, but listen. I mean, that's the punching bag we're given. So we're gonna take a couple swings. Not to neglect. At Pure, we went to the world famous Austin City Limits venue. Really cool.
Never been there. That was really neat. Yeah.
Same. Yeah, we saw Weezer.
Did you grow up with them? Because I did, and I there was a whole bunch of wow. I remember this was straight back to high school kind of a thing, right?
It's weird. I mean I graduated high school in '99. Not to age myself, but Weezer was right down the middle. I mean, you're talking Weezer, Green Day, Nirvana, all of that, and you know what? Not that I wasn't aware of it, but when you hear them all laid out and you're an hour and a half into the show, you're like, geez, it's like this. They had a lot of hits.
Yeah, they did. That's what it was. I didn't realize. I knew like Buddy Holly, right? That one.
Yep.
And just a handful of others, and then I'm like, I know this song.
But you realize you
I know this
a lot
song.
more.
I know that song too. Holy crap! Yeah.
And so I didn't realize, because I don't listen to the radio, that apparently they released like a single of their cover of Toto's Africa.
Yeah.
I didn't realize this. So they start playing this, and I'm like, this is cool.
Like
this
the
sounds
second
amazing.
Song too.
Right. And I didn't realize. I told somebody about it. Like, oh yeah, they've been playing that for like a year on the radio. I'm like, oh, okay. But yeah, that was a lot of fun. So yeah, thanks again to Pierre for putting that on. That was awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Shall we? Let's move to. Do you have never seen that before, Matt? Because I do.
I have one kind of. Ooh. I have never seen Wi-Fi like this since like the early 2000s.
The days of the B standard?
Good Lord. So my understanding, the problem that we ran into, one of the things I overheard in the elevator was we had QoS applied to the physical access point interface and not on the access point to the clients.
So one pig could kill everyone.
So implying that one person starts doing a bunch of stuff, and there goes your Wi-Fi, right?
Pig. Wi-Fi pig.
Which, when you've got a bunch of engineers in a room trying to log on to AWS to do labs, is super awesome.
Well, at least you got to have a bottom to appreciate the good stuff, right?
Yeah.
You got to have the bar.
It's been a minute since I've seen that.
I had one. I'm going to pick on NetApp again.
Yeah.
I've done between 1 and 2 dozen head swaps probably over my years at Ivoxy. So not a ton, but I mean they're pretty regular. And we were swapping in a FAS 9000, which if you haven't seen one of these guys, they're like 6 or 8U. They've got 11 IOs. Yeah, the controllers are vertical in the center. On the sides are actually IO slots. Each controller's got like 11 card slots. So you can go crazy.
Wow.
So one of the steps of the head swap is you basically have to take the new heads, and if your existing heads that you're swapping out are at like, in this example, we were at 9.6. If your existing heads are newer version than what ships with the new array, you have to bring the new array up first. So you're at a parity level, right? No big deal. Done it a million times. So I get it up. I'm booting it to 9.6, actually P2, 9.6 P2, latest version, and it comes time now to swap the heads in, swap the first head in. I do it, and I boot the controller. It comes up at 9.5 P3, which is what the 9000 shipped with. What the heck? So, of course, it borks the root value. I mean, we were not down at all. This is the nice thing about CDOT, the way it's designed, and a properly planned out migration path that we take care of that makes basically, even if something goes wrong, we're okay. So we didn't see a bit of downtime. But what had happened was when the new version of software was installed, it was not set as the default boot image. It was set as the backup boot image. And in all my times doing head swaps, that's never presented itself as an issue.
Yeah.
I upgraded, and every time I've upgraded, it sets that as now the current boot version. Well, I don't know when this, I don't want to call it a bug, but a change in behavior was introduced. I don't know when it was brought in, but it now goes on my list of things to check next time to make sure that that image too is now the primary boot image. So, just ran down that a little bit, made the cutover a little longer, but again, the credit to NetApp, no downtime.
No outage. Good job.
No outage. Thank you.
Nice.
Thank you.
Nice.
I got one quick question for you before you wrap up. I don't want you to think about this.
Uh-oh.
Just kind of a miscellaneous thing. I like to talk about things, just kind of stuff that maybe can appeal to everybody. Quick, Kazo. Don't even think about it. One TV show that I should get into and why? Quick.
What one TV show? You should get into, what is it?
You're
Fringe.
thinking.
No, Fringe.
Fringe.
It's old.
Was this
it's old,
Fox?
It's older. I think there's 5 or 6 seasons on it.
Was this Fox?
Oh, I don't know. I don't remember who did it.
Okay.
It's got it's kind of sci-fi, kind of weird. The main lady works for the FBI, and she's tasked with babysitting crazy psycho scientist dude who's constantly, I just dropped some acid a minute ago, and
I can see why you're into this.
I don't know why these bank robbers are going through the wall to get the gold out of the whatever. It's super weird, super neat like that. I've watched through that show a couple times now, and
You've seen the whole thing.
Always
then.
enjoyed it. Yeah.
One of the things that I'm always shy about is recommending something to somebody that falls off after 2 years.
Like Dexter? What?
I am not joking, Matt. I was going to say Dexter, and I promise everyone.
I haven't finished Dexter.
Well, I mean, you get to season 4, you finish that, and you can pretty much throw it out.
Okay, yeah.
Weeds is another one that's very guilty of that. I don't know how Orange is the New Black works out, but it's made by the same creator, and I just figure it's good for 2 seasons, then it tanks.
There you go.
It's my guess.
I think we tried to start watching Weeds, and I got into season 2, and it just kind of petered off. Yeah.
Awesome premise and really good characters, but it just gets really poorly written in my opinion. I will give you one right now if you're not watching it, and especially if you're an 80s child.
Sure.
Cobra Kai.
Cobra Kai. That's the Karate Kid one, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's on YouTube TV. Here's the good news: the 3rd season, which has been renewed for, is going to be offered on YouTube TV, but ad supported, so anybody can watch it, even if you don't have a YouTube TV subscription. I think it's YouTube TV, not YouTube Red. I don't really know the difference, but it's one of the Google YouTube subscription
I think
plans.
they're rolling them all together, but okay, cool. That's cool. I'll have to check that one out.
It is set 35 years after the events of the third movie.
Yeah.
And these are I'm talking the Ralph Macchio. The third one I've seen, it's terrible. The first two are just are incredible. But I mean, they're all part of the same universe. And William Zabka, who plays Johnny from the movies, Cobra Kai, reprises his role. Ralph Macchio as Daniel LaRusso is in it.
Okay.
There's family dynamics. I tell you, it's one of those things that could be the cheesiest thing you've ever seen, and it's just not.
Yeah.
If you are a fan of Karate Kid, I promise you will love this.
All right.
So you should check that out. Yeah.
I'll have to check that one out. I've got a new one for you also, not to like all the TV, but The Expanse.
You've told me about it. It's on my Plex. I'm ready to go. I just have to find time to dive in. I hear it's Game of Thrones
literally
in space,
this morning,
right?
I just saw a note about the new season is like they're getting ready to do it.
And that's Netflix, right?
It was. And then Netflix canned it.
Oh, then Prime picked it up or something?
And then Amazon picked it up, yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And I'm personally a huge fan of audiobooks, so I've like blown through all of the books that are backing this, and the books are spectacular as well.
If anything, I love the competition between the streaming services because they are so fringe with what they put out there because of data and algorithms that back in the day without streaming services, if network A, ABC, CBS, whatever, cancels your show, it's over.
You're done. Yeah.
But like I watched The Killing on AMC for 3 seasons and it got canceled and Netflix picked it up for the fourth. The fourth season was the best.
Yeah.
Like things like that. Breaking Bad, even though it wasn't the same setup, Netflix resuscitated that show and the binging of the ability kept that show going. So I'm happy to see that. All right, not to get too off topic here. It's definitely a data center therapy, but hey, listen, sometimes we all go lay down on the couch for our own TV therapy, right? At times.
Right.
So
I mean, when my head swaps are taking forever, I'll turn on an episode of. No, I won't.
Boy, I hope not for me. Matt, thank you for joining and of course chatting with me, and always enjoy chatting and taking your insight on things.
Of course, my pleasure. It was fun.
We are, for everybody still listening out there, we are on iTunes, we are on Google Play, Stitcher, Overcast, Spotify. What would be cool is if you could go on like iTunes or wherever they do the reviews, give us 5 stars and review us with as much love as you could possibly give. That would be cool. That would get the word out, get us up on those charts and have more people here, and that in turn gets more feedback our way, more things to talk about, more ideas. If you've got like TV shows that you want to recommend, maybe we call you back, call back to your recommendation on the next episode. Yeah, love to hear what you have to say. If you've got topics you want us to talk about, if you've got questions about Accelerate, questions about the Tech Summit at Rubrik in Denver, shoot us an email, podcast@ivoxy.com. We're on social media, on LinkedIn, we're on Twitter, we're on Facebook. I don't think we've got an Instagram yet. I don't know how. That might be an idea. Look at this nerdy, sexy picture of this NetApp Fazarray. Cool.
You're gonna Snapchat your head swaps?
Hashtag no filter. Hashtag no downtime. Yeah, I mean, things like that.
Yeah.
So, of course, ivoxy.com, datacentertherapy.com. We can be reached in all kinds of ways. Matt will be posting his personal phone number up here, also on the blog post, so look forward to that. Yeah. Matt, thanks again.
Button, right? That's what.
Smash that subscribe button. You know, a little side note, my 8-year-old niece loves to watch kids opening stuff on YouTube. I didn't know this was a thing. Yes, unboxing. Yeah. I didn't know this was a thing. And they also, slime. Have you heard of this?
Slime. Like they from make Nickelodeon?
Like edible slime they make.
Oh, God.
Yeah, I don't know. So she's teaching me about all this. And so my sister will not allow her to do her own YouTube channel. And me, of course, the uncle says, Mel, come on, tell me about it, right? Let's do it. I'll be your producer.
Let's make it happen.
And so I have videos of her on my phone mocking her presentation. And she goes, all right, smash that, subscribe, smash that like button. And, oh, my goodness, it's hysterical. So thanks for bringing that back.
No problem.
All right, thanks for listening to yet another episode of Data Center Therapy. Have a good one, everyone.